Hello, you guys. This is Josh Vision, and I'm here to give you my season 1, episode 1 review of the chilling adventures of Sabrina. So, basically, this episode in a nutshell is the fact that Sabrina has to decide, what does she want to do, and in a way, what does she want to be? Does she want to follow the witch path, or does she want to follow the human path? Basically, what should be established the fact that, you know, she is a half breed in the sense of she's half mortal and she's also a half witch. She lives with her two aunts and her cousins, her cousin Ambrose, I believe. So basically, the early part of the episode, we see Selena with her friends at the movie theaters. They're having a great old time, and we meet, I believe, one of her teachers, and I think her name is Warlord or something along them lines. And while she's in the car, she meets this spirit. So there was this really creepy scene with, like I was saying before, with about Sabrina's teacher meeting this spirit. So they come to basically the teacher's house, and they talk about witches and all that stuff, and the teacher mentions the fact that she's kind of like the town's main historian when it comes to everything, especially the whole witch hunting. And she mentions the fact that how lots of people, in history want to mention the Salem witch trials, but that there was another witch trial that had occurred, in Greensdale, which isn't that far away from Salem, which is the town they live in. And I believe like 13 witches or so died, something along them lines. And basically, after she says that, she asks the spirit essentially, or the spirit girl basically, how did she like die, whatever. And the spirit girl's like, I didn't die. It was a forest that got me. And she asked Sabrina's teacher, do you know a girl named Sabrina Spellman? And the teacher is like, well, yes. And as soon as she says yes, that spirit girl's voice turns to like a demon, like a demonic voice. And she literally gets a pair of scissors and stabs, with the force almost, with her witch powers, stabs the teacher right in the neck, and all the blood comes out, and she dead and down for the count. So she basically takes control of, Sabrina's now deceased teacher's body, and hopes to use, the body in a way to sort of manipulate Sabrina into, I believe, not, becoming a witch, something along the lines. So in this episode, we see Sabrina really like coming to terms with the fact that she's going to most likely become a witch. It's like she wants to be a witch, but obviously she has friends, and by her being a witch, that means she has to leave them. She has to go to essentially like a witch boarding school up in Connecticut, if I remember correctly. And there's this scene in which she's in the forest, and we see basically 3 other witches that go to that witch school, and was established the fact that Sabrina hates them and they hate Sabrina. But it's not like Sabrina's a jerk. I think Sabrina's like a nice, chill person, but those 3 women are something that rhymes with witches. So they did something to Sabrina that was kind of like a curse or something, and Sabrina had to wash herself to get rid of it. It had something to do, like, that affected her nasal and her brain, something along those lines. So when she goes to school and she washes herself, whatever, her friend, which we meet earlier, that looks like a tomboy, kind of looks like a boy, she mentions the fact how the boys, I believe, tried, like, forcibly made her lift up her shirt to see if she was, in fact, a girl, some of them lies, which is really, obviously, really misogynistic and horrible. So she mentions that to the principal, but the principal's kind of an a-hole, and he's also very misogynistic and ignorant. So Sabrina is really frustrated by it. She tells her friend Harvey, which is also established in the show as being not only her friend, but basically a love interest. And I believe this is the part in the episode in which the spirit girl who took over Sabrina's teacher's body, she makes her way into the episode. So she's basically in the teacher's body like a bitch before, and she's basically using, Sabrina's familiarity with the old teacher to her advantage. So they're talking about how bad the principal is and how the assistant principal wouldn't stand for that, but she doesn't have that much power, especially since the main principal is always there and so on and so forth. So she gives Sabrina an idea of how to deal with the guy. She mentions the fact about how he's afraid of spiders. So this connects to something like later in the episode in which we see, like, in terms of the conversations, actually, the person who Sabrina has the most conversations with in this episode is not Harvey, not even her friends, but her cousin Ambrose, who I believe it's established that he was actually banned from leaving the household actually for the past 75 years or so. Another thing that's being established is the fact that he even asked Sabrina, was she really ready to become a witch? Even though he encouraged her to become a witch, he was also saying to her, did she even tell her friends? As Sabrina, was like, I mentioned before, she is very difficult, obviously. She's known these kids basically her entire life. So he was understandable about that. And in regards to the whole prank, which I was trying to get to, there's a prank done due to a spell that both Sabrina and her cousin, basically concoct in order to deal with that ignorant, misogynistic principal and using the whole thing of his fear of spiders, to their advantage. So out of that prank is done, we have Sabrina speaking with her aunts, her and Ambrose's aunt, aunts, plural, about the whole familiar thing. So I think the familiar thing, like, it's like a type of animal that, like, keeps, the witch and warlocks whatever protected, at least for the most part. And Sabrina decided to make her own familiar or something along the lines, and it was a cat, which ironically saves her later in the episode when that woman or that girl spirit that took over Sabrina's teacher's body tried to basically destroy her because she didn't want her to get the Melena mysis or something along the lines, which I believe is a type of fruit which Sabrina's cousin Ambrose mentioned that if she took a bite of it, it was like a future. It was like a crystal ball in a sense. Like, it would give her a vision of the future or possible roads that could happen if she, like, either became a witch or she did it, if I remember correctly, something along those lines. So Sabrina does that, and she has this weird, creepy vision of basically people hanging from trees. So I'm assuming this is basically like a flashback of sorts of what happened in Greendale around 1692, in which, like, the hanging of witches or something along the lines. And then she sees, like, this devil-like character, which I'm assuming is Lucifer, come out the tree, and it was just, like, really creepy. And then she's basically, like, snaps out of it once Harvey tells her he got the pumpkins, in the truck. And speaking of Harvey, we have this scene in which Sabrina basically tells Harvey that, she's a witch. Well, that she's a half witch, and that her dad was basically full witch, her mom was half witch, so on and so forth. But he did not take well to that knowledge. So I believe Sabrina kissed him. As soon as she kissed him, he forgot everything, for the most part. So that was kind of a weird scene, actually. So besides that, we have the scene in which, now that I think about it, it just came to mind just now, Sabrina's aunts, they run basically a funeral home, essentially, mortuary, and they need, like, a certain amount of blood for Sabrina's baptism, in order for her to become a witch, so on and so forth. So they have Ambrose downstairs with the corpse, and he notices something about how when he tried to drain the blood from the arm, there was no blood coming out. So I believe he called, the aunts downstairs to say this kill had to been done by some type of warlock or a witch hunter or something along them lines. So that was very concerning for the aunts, obviously, and that's why they were so fixated. Well, at least I forgot the older aunt's name. She seemed to be the one, in charge, and she was talking about how it was very important for Selena to have, like, a familiar. Like I said before, like some type of guardian animal, for her, for her protection, so on and so forth. Another thing in this episode that happened, you guys, is the fact that it seems as though Sabrina wasn't the only child of her parents, because it seemed like there was two children there, like twins possibly. You know, I think they were twins. They were around the same age, so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that revelation because, like, if that was just some type of BS like dream or there was any meaning to it, I'm looking forward to that in the future episodes. Um, and yeah, I think I covered everything for the most part. You know, actually, wait, there's one more thing that happened. I believe we have Sabrina meeting some very important character. I don't know if he's like the Dark Lord or or someone like close to Dark Lord, something along them lines. But he's creepy. He looks like Dracula, and I'm so interested to see what kind of impact he's gonna have in the second episode. But once again, thank you guys for watching my review. I'll give this episode like a 9 out of 10. Once again, write some comments down below. Give your thoughts as well. And yeah, Josh Vision, adios.